Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Don't miss Brighton versus Arsenal on Saturday Night Football, live on Sky Sports.
Yeah, and we're delighted here on OTB Sports that all our football is brought to you by Sky. All the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. John Giles is with us as always at 7:30 on a Thursday. Evening, John.
Evening, Nathan.
I want to talk about Roger Hunt first, who sadly passed away this week. Unfortunately, last week we were talking about the passing of Jimmy Greaves, and his strike partner at the start of that World Cup in 1966 was Roger Hunt. What an incredible career he had for so long. He was Liverpool's all-time leading scorer with 286 goals. Remains their record league goal scorer with 244 goals. Played for the club for 12 seasons, won a couple of league titles, an FA Cup, and also obviously a key part of that England squad that won the World Cup in 1966. A proper legend.
Well, he played in all those matches, Nathan. In the World Cup, you know, Roger. No, he was a great lad. He was, I'd say, almost a great player, Nathan. And he was very, very modest in his way. He never was flashy in any way, and just got on with the job. Real workhorse of a player. I mean, he was ideal for Ian St. John when they were a partnership,
right?
Because Ian played off him all the time, and Ian wouldn't be able to run. Well, it didn't run around as much as he was a workhorse guy, but scored a lot of goals as you mentioned there. But a really good lad, very honest in his play. Did never got into any trouble. Just got on with the job, and he hardly gets a mention around the '66 World Cup winning team. You know, it's all about like Jimmy Greaves not playing in the two matches and the lads coming on. But Roger played in all the matches. Yeah. And, you know, he was a very modest individual who was a terrific player. I got to know him a bit, Nathan.
Right. How?
We were away in Mexico. There was a competition in one of the football things at the time. And it was that if they picked... Say you picked me in the team, and your name came up. You got a trip to Mexico,
right?
And I got a free
you got
trip.
A nice trip over,
And Roger, funny enough, it's only 4 years. Amazing how football things happen in football.
Yeah.
Only 4 years after winning and being a hero at the World Cup, he was on a tour with a firm as a host. And when he got to Mexico, Guadalajara, I think we were in, the firm he was with went bust. Nathan. So he was stuck, you know, and luckily enough, he was able to come down to the hotel that we were in. Yeah, and like they thought he was one of the lads. So he used to eat with us every day, and that I know it doesn't sound much, but he was a really good lad, and he got caught up in that particular thing. But it's only 4 years after winning the World Cup. Now you think, say, for example, the FA in England would say, look, all the lads who weren't still playing, or when could be, guests up there no. Poor old Roger was stuck over there with a firm that went bust on his particular trip. So I got to know him a lot more, obviously. Then I knew him from playing against him, but he was a real gent, Nathan. Really good lad, terrific player.
By the way you talk of him there as a workhorse, and the way you talked about Jimmy Greaves last week, it sounds as though they would have been pretty much perfect bedfellows as strikers working together.
Well, they were, Nathan. You know, like they were. Jimmy Greaves was very unlucky in that particular time, because they were regular players. Jimmy Greaves played in loads of matches, and he played in the first two matches. Things weren't going well for the England team. Yeah. So Ramsey decided to make drastic changes. And the thing with Jimmy is, if the team's not playing well, like Jimmy's main thing was scoring goals.
Yeah.
But he wasn't even getting any chances. So he paid the price for that. And Jimmy played in the first two matches, and England didn't play well at all. But Roger was never going to be left out, because he was the workhorse. Jimmy didn't get the chances to do what he needed to do, which was to score goals. You know, but Jimmy only missed those few matches. And then he was back in the England team almost straight after the World Cup, Nathan. That's how unlucky he was. Yeah. But there was no way that Roger Hunt would be left out in that situation.
As you said, you would have played against them many times. Probably the most famous one was the '65 Cup final.
Yeah.
When Liverpool won, he was among the goals that day.
Yeah, he scored the first goal.
Yeah.
That was a 2-1 win for Liverpool, Nathan. First time they ever won the cup, and there used to be a thing around that time, a superstition, that as long as the liveaboard was there in Liverpool, Liverpool would never win the FA Cup.
Right.
But they did that day. Actually, it was amazing. We were just promoted that year. It was amazing for us.
Yeah.
Liverpool were an established team, brilliant team. Ron Yates and Tommy Smith, and obviously Roger Hunt. Brilliant players. Ian St. John, Thompson, wingers, Callahan. They were a really class team. But we took them to extra time.
Yeah.
And Ian St. John got it. It was only the smallest guy, got a great header. And Liverpool won the cup for the first time. And the liveaboard is still there.
Yeah. 100,000 at that game, at that FA Cup final.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was the norm, don't forget, in those days. They were talking about 65, Nathan.
I presume you couldn't hear each other on the pitch when there's 100,000 people there.
What's it like?
You couldn't talk to each other. If his teammates shouting at you wouldn't have been able to hear him with the noise.
Which, the players?
Yeah.
You'd hear them all right. Now, F this and F that and F you, and there'd be plenty of that going on. Now you could hear that all right.
You'd hear Big Jack.
I would Big Jack. You'd hear Big Jack anywhere on it, But no, the crowd would be there on it. You see, there was mostly standing on the terraces in those days. Nathan, going back to 1965, which is a long time ago. But the atmosphere would be just as good,
right?
Because there was more people in.
Yeah,
yeah. People used to go mad for the tickets because the clubs only got a certain amount because it was the FA, and they used to give clubs tickets to all the clubs in the under the FA. So the actual team supporters only got about 15,000 each.
Right.
That's why they used to go mad for the tickets. But especially Liverpool. Liverpool had won the league the year before. Well established team, brilliant team. We were just promoted that year. We finished runners up in the league and runners up in the cup, and that's why we got the name later of not winning as much as we should.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean, Nathan? But it was a miracle, really, in many ways, to reach. We beat Manchester United in the semi-final and finished runners up in the league. And as first only promoted. Anyway, that's the way it was. But Liverpool were a great team.
Yeah.
That was Shankly's first great team, and they were brilliant.
The other thing I read about that game was that Jerry Byrne, the Liverpool player, broke his collarbone very early in the match, but it was at a time when there were no substitutions, so he just played the full match with a broken collarbone. Was that something that happened to you at any stage during your career, or where you knew you were in trouble but you just had to play? Yeah, well, not with your collarbone, with any serious injury where you just had to play on regardless.
Oh, well, I must be honest, when I did my collarbone, Nathan, I wasn't playing football, but there's no way I could have played football with that.
Right.
The pain was so bad. It was one of the worst things I ever had. But Jerry Byrne was a hard nut. Actually, it was in a tackle with Bobby Collins. Now, right. Jerry was a hard nut himself, and Bobby Collins was an even harder nut. And Bobby was smaller than me, stocky lad, great player. But could he handle himself? And it was a tackle. It was a 50-50 tackle, really. Now, in a 50-50 tackle, how do you break somebody's collarbone, Nathan?
Well, you tell me.
Well, I don't know myself, but Bobby managed to do it. But Jerry Byrne, he played on. And that match went into extra time and everything.
Yeah. Yeah,
it doesn't say much for me, Nathan. I played most of the game when he's marking me.
And did you know something was wrong? Did you know he was injured?
No, didn't show it. Yeah, he had broken. I didn't know. I didn't even know that he'd broken. He was unbelievable what he could do. Imagine playing a match. Breaking your collarbone is unbelievably bad. I broke it. It had fallen. Unbelievable. But he was a hard nut. He could handle himself. But Bobby Collins was even harder.
Yeah.
Bobby was smaller than me. But he was a great player for Celtic. He'd been a great player for Celtic for 10 years. Then he went to Everton for a few years, and then he came to Leeds. And he was the biggest influence, in my opinion, for Leeds getting to where they were, having come to the club. Absolutely brilliant.
those days around the 60s, like you often see video of it now, and the cop and the crowd are singing Beatles songs and the atmosphere and everyone's crowded in. Like, they obviously, that Anfield crowd at the time worshipped a Roger Hunt. Would you have got a sense of that, of the esteem he was held in around Liverpool when he was playing there?
Oh yeah, I think they called him Lord Roger. He was known as Lord Roger with the Liverpool crowd. They loved him, but you couldn't help but love him as a player that's playing for you.
Yeah.
He gave it everything he got for years and years. You know, they did, as you say there, over here he's got like 285 goals in 490 appearances.
Yeah.
Like, and he was just a lad that got on with the job, didn't cause any trouble, never got into any trouble, and just honest in what he did. You know, he never kicked anybody, but he'd go for the ball. He was a good header of the ball. He scored that day with a header. He was just a manager's dream.
Yeah.
Modest, terrific lad, really, really, and a terrific player. Terrific player. Yeah. Never got the headlines, Roger. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people don't remember. A lot of people that I talk don't remember that he actually played in the World Cup in '66.
Yeah, as you say, he played every minute of the final, but
every minute.
Anyone talks about is Jeff Hurst.
He played in all the matches, Nathan. No, he was a great lad. He was a modest lad. Well, most of the lads I ever met in football who were terrific players had this modesty about them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always found this when young fellas, and their head goes away, they never make it. They never make it. I've seen lads come into teams, play a couple of matches, and they'd play really well, and their head would go, Nathan. And they're really big time. Then. With all the lads that I met now, or played with or against, who were great players, were very, very modest individuals. And Roger was one of them, one of the most modest I ever met. Never talk about themselves, just get on with the job.
Yeah, an incredible career, as we said, and sadly died earlier this week at the age of 83. We've live commentary of Liverpool against Manchester City on Sunday. Huge game in the Premier League this weekend. Liverpool head into that scoring goals for fun, John. Every game they seem to score 3. Mo Salah's in sensational form. Similar scenario again in midweek in the Champions League. You were saying a few weeks ago you felt they're going to go very close, if not all the way, this season in the Premier League. What have you made of them over the last week? And a player in particular who's come up into the side in the last week, Curtis Jones in midfield. I'm wondering what you've made of him. Good lad, Nathan. I think he's going to be a top-notcher. Right. Really, really good. You know, he got a good few matches last year when they had a lot of injuries. Yeah. And he looks the part. I think he's a type of player that Liverpool need. I think he's a genuine creator in the middle of the field. You know, they've a lot of good players in there, as we know, with Firmino and a few others. But none of them are schemers. They used to call them schemers in my day, that get a hold of the ball and know when it's time to slow it down and that. And this lad is only young, but he has that ability to do what I think none of the other midfield players can do at Liverpool. I think he'll stay in the team. Right. Yeah, and he'd be a big plus for them. But they've got it going again, Liverpool. There's no doubt. And I think Porto seem to be a good club for them. Didn't they beat them 5-1 in Porto last year and the year before, and another 5 this year away from home? That's a fantastic result. But I think they've got the Van Dijk is coming back. I think he'll get better with every game he plays. Get that match fitness. They'll take a bit of stopping. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. The addition of, say, Curtis Jones then, and also Thiago, who's a different type of player, does it suggest that Klopp is trying to get something more from him in his midfield? Because so often, as you would used to describe it as that go, and like that midfield gave them the energy to do that with a Henderson and a Fabinho and a Wijnaldum, that maybe now with those type of players he's looking for a bit more control in midfield? Yeah, I think he's right too, Nathan. I think the go is fine, but I think but in a match when it's going your way, everybody's okay. But when it starts going against you, that's when you need a Curtis Jones who can read it. When Graham Souness was there, he's a perfect example for it at Liverpool. Like when you're playing in that position, you have to know, right, this is going against us a little bit. We have to slow it down, just get on the ball. I know this kid is capable of that. Graham Souness did it. But all the other midfield players that Liverpool have at the moment, I don't think there's anybody who can do that. Because once you slow, it's reading the game. When it's just going against you, you might be 2 up, it's going against you. Then, obviously, there's only one ball on the pitch, as we know.
And if you can get a grip of the ball, then it stops the team from coming on against you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because what happens with Liverpool, if you get against them and they're playing a high line, they can be a bit vulnerable. You know?
Yeah.
So what you have, if you get a midfield player who stops the other team even getting to the defence, and that's what Young Jones is capable of doing, and Graham Souness could do it. A few players could do it. This is not going. This is going against the signs in the pitch when you're on the pitch to know we need to slow this down a little bit. This team is coming back on us. So you get a grip of the ball, a little ball here, a little ball there, just to take the heat out of it. And Liverpool didn't with Henderson is not capable of doing it, and Milner, good players in their own right in what they do. But I think Jones is capable of going the extra bit to be able to know, we need to slow it down a bit here and get a grip of the ball.
Yeah,
I think it'd be a really, really big player for Liverpool.
It's a huge game on Sunday, and it's a game that generally lives up to the hype as well over the last 3 or 4 years. Some of the matches between Liverpool and Manchester City have been right from the top drawer. When you think back to those big games you used playing like this, John, across the course of a season, is there a different feel in training? Is there a different feel in the dressing room on a week like this, or do you want everything as if it's just another game?
Well, it can only be another game, Nathan. You know, it's okay. You should be preparing for every match the same anyway. So when it comes to, say, Leeds against Liverpool away or Manchester United away, it's on the day. You know, you shouldn't be. You probably, obviously it's a big match and it's a great match to play in. But I think most players look forward to those matches, Nathan.
Yeah.
I know I did on the Leeds land and Norman. But you'd be really up for these games. I mean, this is what you play football for.
Mm.
You know, because people say, well, you're going to Wembley, would you be nervous? Of course you'd be a bit nervous, but that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know, that's if you're going to be a professional footballer, you want to play in the big games. I did come across some players when it did come to the big day, couldn't handle it. You know, but if you're going to be the real McCoy and win things, you have to be like Liverpool and the players at Manchester United who are winning them in their right team and that. You know, you're a bit nervous. There'd be something wrong with you if you weren't a bit nervous, but you have to handle those nerves, Nathan. You know, you have to handle them. You have to, I think most players have a show-off portion, if that's the right word, in them. Now, when you're a kid, you want to play in the cup final. You want to play in front of the big crowd. There's a bit of a show-off situation in that. Yeah. I want to show people how good I am.
Yeah.
You know, and the bigger the crowd, the better. That's if you're a real pro. Now, the lads who can't handle it, Nathan, would play in biggish matches at youth level and Central League level or play in the first team, and you soon find out about them. They're not going to handle that. They're not going to make it. You know, we had one or two at Leeds, young lads at Leeds, I won't name them, who were terrific ability, but when it came to the big matches, collapsed.
Didn't have the temperament.
Now, you get Billy Bremner, for example. Nothing was too big for Billy.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Billy wants to show off. This is what I can do. And he did it. You know, Billy, if you look at what Billy scored in big matches, goals. I mean, really, really important goals. I think we won 3, 4 or 5 semi-finals, and I think he scored a winning goal. Now, even you're talking about the Liverpool match when we were beaten 2-1. He scored a cracker that day.
Yeah.
Billy Bremner. You know, I'm only showing as an example.
Yeah.
Like if you said to somebody, like, would Billy be nervous? You must be joking. Billy was going to be star of the match, and he was in a lot of the matches. You know, there's a difference in people in that particular way, and then you meet other lads with 1 or 2 at Leeds, young lads, couldn't handle it at all.
But that attitude that Billy Bremner had must have been sort of infectious in the dressing room. That, you know, if he's not nervous, why should I be? Oh, yeah, well, he was a pain in the bum sometimes in the dressing room because he was full of life bouncing around. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there's other lads like Norman Hunter, be quiet. I didn't want to be bothered, you know. But that was Billy.
That was his way.
Everybody approached it in their own different way.
Yeah.
To handle the nerves, but you want to have the nerves, Nathan. Like, if you're playing in a big match like at Wembley, any big match, right? From the time you wake up, well, I know in my experience, from the time I woke up in the morning, I was on my own in my head.
Right. Didn't want any distraction.
Yeah, no distraction. Yeah, you're nervous. See, to be able to play at the level that you want to play in, you need what's the word? The rush of
adrenaline.
Adrenaline. Now, how do you get adrenaline? You usually get adrenaline if something happens to you.
Yeah.
But I know from the time I woke up in the morning, I got up, 9 o'clock or so. I could feel I was out of it. I didn't want to talk to anybody.
Wow.
Dunphy used to call it when I played with him. I was on automatic pilot.
Right.
That's the build-up to the match, because nobody can go out on a match without this adrenaline to play at the level that you want to play at, Nathan. So if you don't have the nerves, you don't have the adrenaline.
And could you be distracted, John? So you had your sort of, I guess you were getting in the zone, is probably what we'd say now.
But that's what they call it. You can call it what any sort of getting in the zone.
Would you look back in games?
It's nerves that provide the adrenaline.
Yeah.
To be at a level mentally and physically to do what's needed to be done. So anybody that tells you, no, I wasn't a bit nervous, well, they weren't going to play well, Nathan.
But would have been days...
To play at the level that you want to play at, to handle the crowd and all the various thing, it's not normal.
Yeah.
It's not normal. You need the adrenaline to handle it and get... Of course you're nervous. You're really nervous. But they call it good nerves.
Yeah.
You're not going out there shaking. You're not going to, oh, God, I've got to go out here and play. You're looking forward to go out and play. But if you want to play at a certain level, then you have to have this adrenaline rush, as it were, and to be able to handle it. And to try and, well, look, I'm handling this. I'm looking forward to this. I want to play in this game. Because that's what you wanted from the time you were a kid.
Yeah.
You didn't realise about the nerves when you were a kid, but you grow into that.
Did you have days, John, where you had bad nerves, or where you somehow were forced out of the zone? Something happened in the morning that distracted you, that got out of your routine, and that you just weren't right going on the pitch?
No, I never had that, Nathan. I never. Like most nights now, I'd go into a hotel and leave, Anne and the kids. They'd be totally separated for that.
Right.
Now, I didn't always play well. I've had a few nightmares as well. I mean, I played in the semi-final of the Cup against a great Spurs team in 1962, Nathan.
Yeah.
And I had a nightmare. That's when Matt fell out with me. I was playing. I was only 21, and I was playing against Jimmy Greaves was playing that day. Down the midfield was Danny Blanchflower, and Dave Mackay, and John White. And this wasn't a good Manchester United team, but I thought I could handle it.
Yeah.
But I couldn't. I had a nightmare. And Matt lost confidence in me altogether. So I was up for the match. My nerves were okay. I had the adrenaline going, but I had a nightmare.
Right.
It can happen even with the adrenaline going. You still have a nightmare. But if you don't have the adrenaline going, you're going to have a nightmare in every match.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, John, I do want to talk to you about Chelsea, because everyone's been getting very excited about Chelsea at the start of this season, and Thomas Tuchel and the arrival of Romelu Lukaku. It's been a difficult week for them. Defeat to Manchester City, and then a defeat in midweek against Juventus as well in the Champions League. It was interesting listening to Tuchel after the Manchester City defeat. I think it's something you've touched on before, that Chelsea, he felt, played like they were protecting something. Is that something they're going to have to really get used to now, that like they're one of the favourites for the league? That when Tuchel came in, they were sort of the underdogs. Nobody expected a huge amount from them last season, but now they actually do have something to protect. They're in a title race. They have a lot to lose. That's a mentality that he's going to have to work hard to shift.
Well, I'm amazed that he said that, Nathan, to be honest, because he's an experienced manager, experienced players as well. I think the difference actually in the Chelsea-Manchester City match was Manchester City.
Right.
Manchester City were back to where they were really at their best, especially when they didn't have the ball, Nathan.
Yeah.
They made a pace in the game that actually Chelsea couldn't handle. It was back to where Pep was doing what I saw a Chelsea player on the ball. There was 3 City's players after them every time. From start to finish, they totally outplayed. They didn't give Chelsea a look at the ball.
Yeah.
And now, I think what happened then in the second match, which it didn't play so well the other day, City, when they were beaten, and I think a lot of it's to do, believe it or not, with Sterling coming back into the team. He's not doing that anymore.
Yeah, he looks a shadow of the player he was a couple of years ago.
I don't know he hasn't played for City since last Christmas. Now, when it came to the England team playing in the European Championship, he was back to where he was.
Yeah.
He was really good. He's one of the best players. Then he started plays for City again, and he's not at the races again. He's been left out of the team. So whether he's looking to get away or not, but I think if City want to continue to do what they have to have this enthusiasm to win back the ball like they had against Chelsea last week. Definitely, they have to do that every week, or else they won't do it. I didn't see all the match now the other day against City, but I know they had chances in the match.
Yeah, they did. They certainly weren't completely outclassed by Paris.
But they have to get that when they haven't got the ball to chase after the ball like they did against Chelsea. And Sterling is not helping them when he's in the team to do that.
Yeah.
And if they're not doing that, Nathan, they won't win it. But from Chelsea's point of view, I'm amazed at the manager Tuchel to make the statements that he's made. And I watched the match last night against Juventus, and I was amazed too at the changes he made, Nathan, over the 90 minutes.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
He's got a lot of praise generally for that.
Sorry?
He's generally got a lot of praise for the substitutions he's made in match.
He put Ross Barkley in, Loftus-Cheek, Hudson, who haven't been in the team at all.
Yeah.
Like he made 5 changes that you can make now.
Yeah, 5 substitutions, yeah.
And Juventus were the better team.
Yeah.
There's no doubt from start to finish. They've been having a bad time. So it's amazing the way it happens. A couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I would have said there's no way Tuchel would do that. And I think they will get back to be real challengers.
Yeah.
But, Liverpool have come back into it now. Manchester United, I thought didn't play well at all last night, Nathan.
We got to leave it there, unfortunately, John. We'll have a lot to talk about next Thursday, though, when we have Liverpool Manchester City live on Sunday afternoon. So we'll talk all about that next Thursday. Mind yourself.
Nathan, I get to a stage where I can't stop. Sorry about that, but we'll.
It's the adrenaline, John. It's the adrenaline junkie that's in you. It's kicking in again.
I get that. See, I get that adrenaline before I start talking to you.
That's it. It's like the good old days. John, great stuff as always.
Okay, Nathan. Speak to you then. Bye.
A reminder as well that we're delighted to have all our football on Off the Ball brought to you by Sky. All the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports.